Thanks.
All right, you ready?
Yep, let's do it.
I can read the slide. Thank you, Kathy.
Hmm.
Two people added. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm gonna. I guess I'll just talk loud because I think they can hear me through the computer over there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so do you feel ready?
I feel ready. Mhm.
Okay, and the recording's on.
Mhm.
All right, everybody. You can't see me, but I think you can hear me. My name is Jeremy Didier. I'm the group co-founder and co-coordinator for ADHD KC, and I'm excited that everyone is here tonight. We have an in-person live audience as well as an online audience, and so we're doing our hybrid thing. Let's see. Thank you so much for your support of ADHD KC and of CHAD. If you are not a CHAD member, we highly recommend that you check out chad.org. All kinds of amazing benefits of becoming a member of CHAD, including being among people who understand what you're going through and have been there, and some have even come out the other side and have all kinds of tips and tricks and amazing research and resources to share on the website. So chad.org is where you go to become a member. Tonight, we are absolutely thrilled to welcome Sara Prince. She's going to be presenting on what she knows now. Sara has her master's in education, in special education and disability studies. She is a certified ADHD coach from the ADHD Coaching Academy and also by the ICF, which is the International Coaching Federation. She is a member of the Professional Association for ADHD Coaches. She spent 20 years in the public schools and in the private high schools as a school teacher and learning specialist. So that alone makes her amazing and our hero. You're looking at me funny. Am I saying it wrong?
No, it looks like the screen has done something funny.
The screen has done something. Did you log in up there? Oh, you messed me up, man. Okay, go ahead and stand by. And here I was introducing. I was doing a good job.
You're doing a beautiful job. I sound like a great person.
Can you go ahead and just log back out again so that they can see you?
My screen is, I can see my screen and I can see this.
So did you log into Zoom up there? Did you log into Zoom from your laptop?
Yeah, my laptop?
Yeah, no,
My laptop is,
not logged into Zoom. Huh? Stand by. Gosh, it would just be so. Oh, we're seeing Eric's screen. Eric, you're shooting your screen. What the heck, man? Okay. You.
oh, the color doors are locked.
In the email for us.
Oh, okay.
They were just unlocked. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just went there to check. Really? Oh, okay. I'm really sorry, guys. They were supposed to be unlocked. Let me check with Geraldine because she told me they were unlocked. All right, I'm so sorry.
I clicked the wrong thing, Jeremy. I not sharing. I'm sorry.
Eric, can get it all done. I'm gonna pin. Let's see. Just pin you. If I can, I thought I pinned you already. All right. Anyway,
Now I see
So-
myself again.
no, there you are.
Mhm.
Okay, so if everybody could just go ahead and leave themselves on mute for now, just in case we like accidentally go to somebody else's screen while I'm trying to navigate 2 or 3 different computers, that would be awesome. But the amazing, and fabulous Sara Prince, take it away.
Okay, they can hear me from here.
Can you guys hear okay from here? Let me know in the chat if you can't hear her well.
Okay. I will speak as loudly as I possibly can. I'm really happy to be here tonight, and I'm going to try to go very quickly through these slides so that I can introduce myself. Should we wait a couple minutes for people to walk in? The doors have been locked, so people are just walking in.
So we broke in.
Should we let people walk in?
Nobody to answer.
Okay.
I don't know where he got in for the. Got in through daycare. Yes.
Are we let people walking in, or shall I start?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay.
I just have to say, we're doing a hybrid online thing, so grab your seats, sign if you want.
I'm Sara.
Sara, who is Sara?
I am Sara, and I'm really happy to be here to talk to you a little bit about what I know now about. I was diagnosed with ADHD at age 63, just a little over a year ago. Believe it or not, yeah, she just gave me this look like, so I
too.
yeah,
I was 60.
yeah, and this is what I love. Please just feel free to just raise your hand. We can stop at any time and talk. for me, the good news is, and I'll talk about this in 1 minute, but what I thought I would do, because what I do now is ADHD and executive skills coaching. And the bottom line for me when I work with people is I really want everybody I work with, and really everybody in my life and my family, to feel the important thing, what life is a lot about feelings and ideas, but also we have to get things done. And I'm going to talk tonight most specifically, ultimately, about executive skills, executive function, and how we get things done efficiently. And so I want people that I work with, that I meet in my practice, to develop as early as possible. What my ADHD diagnosis helped me with was context, like why it was helpful was, wow, this really helps because it's kind of a shortcut, knowing to help me with self-awareness. Oh, this makes sense. This is why, for me, for example, my ADHD shows up in a lot of emotional hyperactivity. That's the lane for me where I experience it the most, and always have throughout my life. For other people, it's something else.
Yeah.
I believe it's just extremely helpful to know where you have strengths. And with coaching, what's wonderful is we always begin by identifying strengths, and then where you might experience some challenges, so that you can be the person you want to be in every environment, at home, at school, in your relationships, at the hen house, at work, wherever you want to be. And those are environments that you choose. And you can figure out, you can be at choice, as Carolyn McGuire likes to say. So that's why, for me, it's been extremely exciting time since my big understanding that I have ADHD. And I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. Now I bring up, I have a slide that says ADHD challenges. Again, usually coaching, we start with strengths. For the purposes of this quick conversation, I want to do a quick look at what traditionally we talk about as the challenges that ADHD brings to the individual typically, right? So I'm a late diagnosed person. Let's just look very quickly at what the experts have said about what happens to those of us who have ADHD, right? Well, I was just listening to the Women's Palooza today, and forgive me, but it turns out that Russell Barkley has a whole model that Jeff Copper was talking about. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't know about Russell Barkley's model, but we do know that Russell Barkley talks about it being a disorder of self-regulation. Russell Barkley says, basically, ADHD is we can't self-regulate around getting a goal accomplished. We have a goal in mind, and for whatever reason, we have difficulty self-regulating to reach that goal, whether it's our emotions that throw us off, the distractions in the environment. It's essentially our difficulty self-regulating to stay on track. So this is the difficulty. Then here comes William Dodson. He's the expert who we all know as the rejection sensitivity dysphoria guy, right? He's the guy who talks a lot about emotions and these outsized feelings that may derail us, these ideas we have about ourselves. But what I think is interesting about William Dodson, and by the way, he knows a lot also about medication, but he talks about this, what I like is he says, not attention deficit, but this sort of inconsistent attention that we have. We might have a lot of attention at any given moment and then suddenly none. Or this is me totally. And think about this, those of us who are late diagnosed women, we don't know what is supposed to have our attention. Everything gets equal attention. So I'm not calling myself out, but let's just say you're a middle-aged woman who's gotten married and you have some kids and you're taking care of a house and you were going to do something and you woke up and you went downstairs to make coffee and you noticed that the laundry had not been put in the dryer. And then you noticed that, oh yeah, the dogs hadn't been fed yet. And oh yeah, you were going to send an email, but you realized that there are some unmade beds. And then suddenly it's 11 o'clock in the morning. Everything has equal attention, and this goes into prioritizing, right? So so there's this inability to sort of figure out what is supposed to get your attention. And on top of that, layer in this difficulty documenting and anchoring what you're doing right so that you can then reduce and extinguish what didn't go well for you. So you kind of keep doing the same thing again and again, and you don't figure out why you're not kind of getting better. Something went well, but you couldn't quite, it went well one time, but why didn't it go well again? And then, of course, in the pantheon of ADHD, Thomas Brown, who talks about emotion too, but he's really, I love he's written a lot of books about ADHD and how educators and parents are so flummoxed because especially their kids are like, they're not troublemakers. Why are they floundering? Like, why are they smart? They're stuck, smart but stuck, right? But he has this, I love his analogy because I'm a musician, and now we're talking specifically about executing, getting stuff done, right? We're talking about executive function, these functions to execute a task. And these functions are like instruments in an orchestra, he says. And our brain is the conductor. And so think about that. Think about these different executive functions, and I'll show you his model in a minute. Think about any one of those instruments playing out of tune or playing out, like suddenly you hear the tuba, boom, at the wrong time. Or think about a chorus singing and suddenly the soprano beep at the quiet moment in the choral piece. Any one of those instruments or voices sings at the wrong moment. That's like the executive function not working or malfunctioning in the task, doesn't get done or gets done improperly or inefficiently. There's his model. A FEMA, right? Like a piece of symphonic music. Imagine, right? So I think, so there he is. And so along come Peg Dawson and Richard Guare, who are this couple who actually had an ADHD child of their own. They hear this executive function idea, and they kind of change the language a little bit to call them executive skills. Because Peg Dawson, and if you ever watch any of her YouTube, she's wonderful. She's very relatable. She talks about executive skills because she said, we like the idea that skills can be developed. You can work on skills. So they sort of renamed these skills and they divided them up and they created these basic interventions. So for these different skills that we needed, we could actually target them if we could create little surveys, and they have a survey for young kids, for teens, for parents, for adults. And because the primary focus, we all can do some of them, and then some of them might be a little bit weaker. This is with ADHD, and here are these skills, according to Dawson and Guare. And these thinking skills, I think you all will get these slides. These inform the doing skills, and they all come on board starting at birth. And all through adolescence. And the important thing to understand as educators, we learn that in ADHD, individuals have lagging executive skill development by about 25 to 30%. Teachers don't often know this. Parents are expecting kids to be able to do all kinds of executive skill things. And these kids with ADHD and related diagnoses are lagging behind in these skills. 25 to 30% sometimes. And the last one to come on board, metacognition. That's that. What am I doing? How am I doing? What do I need to do differently? But all of these, if you remember Thomas Brown's model, he had working memory in there. But look at all these different things that are involved in just getting a task done. This might be folding a shirt, right? This might be putting something in your backpack. This might be asking a kid to sit crisscross applesauce on the mat, right? So. So what, right? Why am I talking about all this? Because this is the stuff we need to be able to do to get to do stuff, to get stuff done. And not only is this the stuff that we need to sort of regulate, to get stuff done, to get homework done. And we talk so much about homework. Teachers, it's like, oh, it's homework, it's grades, it's homework. It's not just that. This is the stuff we need. These are the skills we need to make friends. These are the skills we need to get jobs and have relationships and get along with our family and not lose our temper. Lose our temper in line at the store when we're waiting in line. This is so that we can ultimately not be. I remember in the 4th grade when I wasn't chosen for bombardment. Still, I can tell you the kid's name. I will not call him out. He might be here tonight. So I know his name still. And that is the sting. I didn't know I had ADHD till I was 63, but I know that kid's name today. And I bet everybody here has a story like that. Loneliness and stress, you know, if we don't learn these skills early. So again, the whole point of this is as early as possible, become aware. You don't have to call it ADHD. There are people who've written wonderful books about get to know your brain, get to know what's showing up for you so you can say, we didn't do this. And here's something I want to say, and I'll say it in a minute, but this is Caroline McGuire, who's written a lot about the connection of these executive skills to social skills. She's written a book called Why Will No One Play With Me? She taught the family ADHD coaching program that I took because we can learn these skills. So that we can be at choice. And it's you can be whoever you want to be, but the whole point is so that you're not feeling like your moods and your are guiding you, so that you feel like you are choosing what you want to do at any given moment. These are life skills. So with all of that as background, the point being, right? This is a lifelong thing.
We are a common thread through our whole.
Right? 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 I didn't make that up, by the way. Yeah. I should. Okay, so here we go. And what I want to say as a disclaimer, I think it's really important. There's this great book called How to Raise an Adult by Julie Rames, I think it is. I should have brought it with me. I think it's really important to acknowledge, and I want to say this very clearly right now. We did not talk about executive skills. I grew up in the 70s. It was a completely different era. I want to make it really clear that there was a ton of freedom, a ton of hands-off attitude when I was growing up. That was the way they raised us. And I had a really rich upbringing, very privileged upbringing. I had access to a terrific public school system, music lessons, vacations, a loving family. None of what I am about to say going forward is by any means meant to indicate that I have hatred of my history or of my family, or are there complicated feelings when you get diagnosed at 63? Did I engage in unproductive activity when I was younger? Maybe. You know, do I look back and with some complicated and mixed feelings about some of my choices? Yes. At the same time, huge amount of triumph for the compensatory strategies. And I really am a firm believer in not denying any of the like sadness involved in that, but really giving ourselves a huge pat on the back for whatever we have managed to manage, basically. So I don't want any of this to be misunderstood as regretting my history. Okay, so I just want to, that's a huge disclaimer because I have a lot of gratitude. Okay, here are my early years now, and if anybody wants to chime in here, this is what it looked like for me. I decided to just use my early years as imaginary. If I had known about executive skills, which I did not, what if, right? Here's what you saw. There I was in my little nail polish and, braces and looked so good, right? Books behind me. I'm at the piano, took violin lessons, third of 3 girls. I'm going to the public elementary school. Look at all the records. And there we are at holiday time. My grandfather's playing the piano. I'm smiling, right? Pretty happy, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Privately, I was in like this neighborhood gang. I was bossed around by the head of it. I did not know how to say no to anybody. My family was always late everywhere. I didn't know, our family was always late everywhere. We knew nothing about sports in my family. My best friend was the child of, very involved in the Kansas City Chiefs, and my family knew nothing about sports. I knew we were different, but I didn't know if we were weird, better. My parents liked classical music and would blast opera around the neighborhood. We took vacations, but they were never like a family discussion of where do we all want to go. It was all based on my dad's, and then I would go, and there was lots of like messy chaos in our family. But then when I got a loan to play my imaginary play, I was very organized, dressed up. I played like I owned my own business, like I was a school teacher. It was very different in my private imaginary play. And I didn't really know who to ask. Who to ask for help. My imaginary life was very different from our everyday family life. So I kind of felt very adult automatically when I was super, super young. But I didn't know that was a problem. It didn't even occur to me that was weird. I just had this constant awareness I was different. So I just sort of all right, okay, into my teen years. Today we would call what I did camouflaging. They have this word camouflaging, right? So here you see me as a teen. Confident, I was sort of funny. I used my strengths. My big strength is humor. My core strength is, my top strength is humor, if you do the VS character strength. So keep that in mind. I'm outgoing, I'm funny, I'm like the den mother. I'm confident. Who else would wear their hair that short? If you know, Pixie, nobody wore their hair short, but I want to be different, right? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm highlighting it. I write a lot of poetry. I'm an editor of the literary magazine. I'm in madrigals and any kind of organized creative thing, I'm doing it. And so I look from the outside, wow, she writes poetry, she's musical, until later in high school when I really lost a lot of confidence. I'm looking like I'm owning it. I figured out I've noticed around me how to be popular, so I'm doing it, right? Remember, I have no idea I have ADHD, right? Okay, so looks like I know what I'm doing. Right. This is when I transferred because my mom thought I was spending too much time on the phone. She moved me to a private school. Okay, so just so you know, I probably shouldn't say this. I moved to a private school because I was too busy on the phone. The minute I got to the private school is when I really learned about the really naughty stuff. Okay. Okay.
Are we allowed to chime in?
In my
Have-
private school. That's just here.
That was then, this is now.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Yeah.
this is all, okay. So I go, so there, look at this privately, what's going on. Look at this picture. Does that look like a happy person? Look at that, look at that. I found this, I don't know who took that picture. That person should have taken me to a psychologist. This person, this is probably a Friday night. Go ahead.
When I look at that picture, I can see where it came
Yeah, I don't
from.
really see.
And when I look at pictures and I'm with my family, I see something totally different
Great point.
oftentimes than what they see.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I would say you're unhappy. I feel like you're kind of, with your animals in your space.
So I'll tell you what was going on in this picture, okay? This is probably a Friday night, fully made up, fully dressed, going nowhere. No plan. I'm watching this cat, I'm watching this dog. I am absolutely, this is literally somebody all dressed up with nowhere to go. I have an awareness, I was in my teens. I felt profoundly, I was writing all these overly emotional poems, writing song. Now, I'd taken, what I didn't tell you about the violin and the piano lessons and all these music lessons is I would go to my lessons every week, but I didn't ever practice. So I never did, I never practiced. I didn't know how to practice. And so during the week, I would go to the lessons and then I would arrive at my next lesson having made very little progress. And I knew I hadn't made any progress. And so, and I'm naturally musical. So I was really embarrassing. This is sort of the beginning of the shame story, right? An embarrassment story. And I'm naturally, it's like a musician. I ended up being a classical singer. So I'm going to the music lesson. I'm not making progress. And I never really learned to read music as well as I could. I ended up actually being like a contract choral singer in New York. But at this time, when I'm little, I'm going to those piano recitals when it's piano recital time. Remember how they do it? The best person's at the very end. It was always like the second or third person. It's like always dreading it. And so by this time, I'm in my teens and I'm not only writing poetry, I'm writing these songs on the piano by ear because I can't write so I'm writing them by ear because I have a pretty good ear. These love songs about love is because my ADHD shows up in this sort of emotional hyperactivity. Why love isn't working out. Remember the music of the day. James Taylor, Cat Stevens, and I'm thinking, I'm doing a show putting together a show right now. And I thought this was love, like Carpenters. I thought I had these outside ideas about love. I'm like driven by my emotions. So this is me. Nope. And no idea kind of who do you talk to about this? So does this resonate with anybody? So problem. So, and then I'm like saying things to my parents every now and then, like, I think I need boarding school because I read Catcher in the Rye. I think I need boarding school. I think I need a psychiatrist because my father was a doctor. And of course, in those days, again, that was not the thing, right? You need another activity. You need to be busier, right? So no, that didn't fly. So what's the natural thing to do? But in school, remember, I plugged myself in school to the activities available. Off to college. Go to college, of course, right? Okay, do you think I've ever gone to a college reunion?
God, no.
Off I go. There I was, happy, right? This is what it looks like. This is what I kind of look like in my 20s, right? So, early decision. Why, that looked good. Applied early decision, got in. fun, social, confident, real confident group of friends. Loud, we're boys, brave. 3 years in, I was an English major because remember, I wrote all those creative writing. I was editor of the poetry magazine. So 3 years into an English major, I changed my major, become a drama major, star in the drama musical. Wow, it looks like I've really got it made, right? And then I graduate just a semester late with this drama major and moved down to New York. Looks good, right? Sounds really like a good story. And got a really pretty good GPA in college. That's impressive, right? Okay, here's the story. Here's the real story. The one criteria for college for me, I didn't know anything about sororities, did not want to go anywhere that had a sorority. I knew I would never be able to, I didn't know anything about sororities, but do not put me in that popularity contest. Nobody will pick me. Remember the guy in the 4th grade, the bombardment? No way. Nobody is going to pick me to be in a sorority. I don't even know what they are, but I don't want any part of it. Nobody will pick me. I go to East Coast of college, ashamed of my 3 years. I'm in the English department, and I won the creative writing. I remembered this as I was putting this together. I won the creative writing award at my high school. I was 3 years in my college English department. I don't think I raised my hand in class once, in English class. I was so overwhelmed and embarrassed, and for some reason felt like such a loser. My teacher, my advisor had written a book about Stephen Crane. I loved English. I was around a bunch of New Yorkers. I felt so insecure about these people who dressed and studied. I don't think I ever went to the library. I think I went and didn't study. I don't know what I did there. We didn't have phones. We didn't have computers. I felt very provincial. So what did I do? I overcompensated with a lot of unproductive behavior that did not serve me. I held on to this kind of friend group because I was sure nobody else would want to be friends with me. I was aware that I didn't know what I was doing, but what's really interesting is I changed my major 3 years into drama. I was just basically by luck discovered by the drama department through some music that I did, and it turned me around because the fierce structure of the drama department, the deadlines of rehearsals and performances, and the old-fashioned testing, all of the demands of this department were wonderful for me. The external structure was what I needed. That's an executive. That's the ADHD. The fact that I had to be accountable to these other people. I didn't know any of this about myself. And I completely turned it around. I discovered it also lined up with my passions and interests, which is a huge ADHD thing. If you find something that lines up with your interests and passions. So there I went. But I just want to show you something. Look at this book. I mean, is this the book of somebody who doesn't should I have not been an English major because I didn't like reading and books? I loved books. What I did not have were the skills to plan, prioritize, break down my work. I did not have executive skills on mine. I didn't even know what they were. I will tell you, in high school, my senior project was about a poet. I had chosen a poet to do my project on. And I received back the project at the end, and on the top of it, it said shallow and unreal. I remember that. Like I remember that 4th grade boy who will go unnamed. And it was shallow and unreal. I didn't know how to I loved poetry and I loved the idea of interviewing the poet. I remember interviewing him. I had no idea how to break down a big project. And the other thing I didn't know how to do is what Ned Hallowell talks about in ADHD 2.0. Who to go ask? Who's on my team? Who can help? We need help. Like we need to know who is on our team, right? So I love literature. When the pandemic came, I took Joyce Carol Oates' a short story writing class. So I love literature. So what does inaction feel like? Off I go to New York, right? I'm going to read to you from my journal. All right. This is me. Right after, right there. This is true story. This is 1979. One of my biggest fears about myself is that I don't have any ability to take responsibility for my own life. I think of people my age who have everything mapped out. People have the energy and drive to move forward with gusto in their lives. Do I have this? Do I have what it takes to take my life into my own hands and say, I want this, give me this? And if I cannot do it, do I have the inside of me to face compromise and settle for whatever I had inside of me to obtain? Big fear. I knew the only thing I didn't know was that what was wrong with me, right? This is all has to do with self-awareness.
I'm just curious, so it sounds a lot like me and we're the same time period, but I had a mom that just pushed. I wouldn't have thought that.
Mm-hmm.
Were your parents
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah,
pushing behind?
that's it. And see, that's a really good question. It has so much to do with upbringing and styles of parenting. I was the third, and we've talked about this a lot in my family. I had very hands-off parents. I say all the time to my family, we talk a lot about this. I could have used a little bit more. I could have used a little bit more. And there are lots of reasons for this. And I don't lay any blame. My parents were wonderful in many, many other ways. And there are other things that have to do with my perspective, my appreciation of absurdity and humor. I have circumstances in my life for which I'm so grateful for my outlook and my perspective. And if I'd had that, it would have been deadly for me in these circumstances. So there's no blame assigned here, but yes, I hear what you're saying. Other people had that. I did not.
I didn't have it in school or anything.
Yeah.
But when it came to
Yeah.
career.
Mhm.
progressing,
Yeah. And it has to do with our privilege. It has to do with the privilege that I had that I didn't have. Other people had to work. I did actually work. And the other thing that I haven't mentioned is spending. I had a lot of shame around budgeting. I worked all the time. The other thing I haven't mentioned is I babysat all the time from a very young age. I ended up taking care of a little boy in my most recent job here in town, whose father I babysat for 50 cents an hour when I was growing up. I remember 1 a.m. going home, this boy, the high school boy's father, 50 cents an hour. I have no memory of what I did with that money. No memory. I was very entrepreneurial. I got a job in high school and my mother actually made me quit because studying was more important. Studying, but interestingly, for what? Like what and that's a whole other question, and it begs a lot of interesting conversation we don't have time for tonight, and we've talked a lot about it, but that's a very, very good question. But I had a lot of, and there was a lot of also, and we'll talk about in a minute, this feeling that I also had this feeling that I had to want to do something completely to do it. I had to want to do something if I didn't feel like singing or practicing, or if I didn't feel like I wanted to be singer entirely, that meant I shouldn't be one. And Ari Tuckman, you'll find out in a minute, he says discomfort is, I didn't feel entirely sure on my wedding day. Oh no, I didn't understand till I was 63. That's normal. Like, you don't have to feel entirely sure to get started on something. That's it. Ari Tuckman calls that the lie we tell ourselves, right? What lies do we tell ourselves to not do something, right? And it's no judgment. It just is. So of course, see here, maybe the hair, okay? The hair could have been different.
My hair
Looks
just like that,
exactly like
just
that.
like
Yeah,
that.
no.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In one
You're very
picture, you
kind.
turn and I'm like, that could almost be me. Like kind of a side profile.
So I wanted to read you one other interesting, this has to do with our ideas about ourselves versus the way other people see us, right? This is also from the same period, interestingly. Exact same period. I just learned this is right after college. I just learned that I received the departmental honors for drama. This is from college. And by the way, I didn't tell my parents about this. I just learned that I received the departmental honors for drama and the Molly Kazan Award for drama, and I'm filled with self-doubt and a total lack of confidence in everything I do. These past few months have been an emotional boot camp. I'm unable to resist the temptation to wallow. I am inactive as a beached seal in the hot, sticky sun, and I am in a city filled with the most exciting, adventurous places in the country, and I do nothing but feel lonely, suffering. I hate it because I am getting farther and farther away from good humor. Do you remember me telling you, it turns out humor is my character strength? I am hypersensitive and frightened of rejection. I am feeling something everybody feels at some time or another, yet I cannot seem to break out and shake it into perspective. Swimming in mercury. It's as if the light is green and I'm unable to cross the street. I feel as paralyzed as I would if I were an alcoholic or drug addict. Unreachable. I was maybe 20, not 20, I had just moved down after college to New York. I just graduated. I remember not telling my parents about that award. And what's interesting, this is the other interesting thing that might happen to, I don't know if this is your experience, into my adult life, I was over time like diagnosed with depression and on and off antidepressants. And now too, but ADHD was never caught, right? So here's my trajectory. I moved down to New York. I did classical singing and I had some really interesting jobs. And because my mother didn't send me to boarding school and had me kept me busy with learning typing, the good news is I had some interesting office jobs and I became, my younger child was diagnosed with autism and I got really interested in special education. And this is the path. And it has all been incredibly interesting. But again, riding the wave, letting life kind of take me instead of me knowing who I was, knowing who I was. I didn't know about task initiation, right? We didn't know about it, and it's nobody's fault. We didn't talk like this. There I was kind of doing the fun stuff first. I didn't know about planning and prioritizing. Like, I've got to get this paper done, right? Again, with the pixie cut, right?
Dancing.
And the overalls. Again, expensive things, no idea how to budget. This is something that has haunted me my whole life. And emotional control. And this is so important. This is huge for me because this is where my ADHD really, I wake up every morning and cycle through any number of limiting, I go down any number of rabbit holes of worry. I can't even begin to tell you where I go. And then really have to say to myself, okay, you're done. And R.A. Tuckman talks a lot about, this is, it's almost like an exercise. It's sort of like exercising for me. What can you learn? Like what can you take from what can you learn? What can you take with you? And what can you learn from what did not go right instead of deciding, oh, I have ADHD, so I can't. What went wrong for next time? So What are you not going to do next time? And find the good in it. That's my first marriage. Okay, so yeah, on kids, I think especially, like, parenting, you can really, learn so much, especially that attention can get really splayed. I actually got diagnosed ultimately because my older child said, I really need to know who has ADHD in our family. And these are the sort of down and dirty, this is sort of a mashup, I think, of what helps the executive thinking skills. I think, this is sort of if we want takeaways for me, well, nobody can tell you what works for you, your own systems. For me, your own systems, whatever works for you, don't let anybody tell you. The organizer we saw at the convention, for example, this year everybody has their own way of organizing. Do what works for you. External structures, right? What you're talking about with the mom, but with the piano lessons, would have been helpful for me to have external structure, a little bit more external structure. So I would have known, hey, it's 4:30. You need that 30 minutes to go practice piano. Didn't happen. Okay. But what would it have been like to build in a little bit of external structure? Time is really tricky. Make time visible. If you struggle with time, don't assume, and this is really seeing the sweep of time. Sarah Ward talks about really being able to see time. If you need a visual, see it go away with a time timer so you can see it disappear. Don't be ashamed of what you need to see time go away. And ask yourself, well, what do you need to establish priorities? Same thing with the piano lesson. I keep using that example. What do you feel like if you're going to really nail that French folk song or whatever it is you're going to play on Saturday? What is it going to feel like to really play that piece the way you want to play it, or do something, look the way you want to look, whatever it is. And then this knowing you can't do it alone. Everybody who knows, anything about ADHD knows we all try to do it alone. And then we get ashamed and really isolate ourselves. This is something I do, at least. I noticed when I was in high schools, just when the kids needed to ask for help, they would hide. Okay, and then doing, same deal. We really do benefit from some consistent routines. Rules are not bad as long as they're compassionate. Sometimes parents are like, I want them, I can't do that, I'll make them mad, I'll make them mad, they'll get mad. Rules are, you're allowed to have, actually, I think sometimes kids are really looking to know kind of how big is the backyard. Document, pay attention to what works. Pay attention to wow, that went well. This is important. What are you saying to yourself about what you can't do? What are you assuming? What are you assuming without realizing it that you can't do? I purposely did not come in here and say, I can't, I've not done one of these ever. And I purposely made myself not decide what this was going to be like tonight. And this is kind of a big one. Understand what you're expecting of yourself and whether it's realistic or other people in your environment. Sometimes lining up our expectations is the beginning. Are there any questions? Does anybody have anything that they want to ask or say? Are there any questions in the chat?
Not yet.
Anybody asleep? No.
I can turn the lights on.
Okay, social skills too.
I
We
do
didn't-
have a question. I did have a question in the chat.
Go
Okay.
ahead, Eric.
But I don't know if Jeremy wants me to do it yet or what. It's like,
It's up to you, Sarah.
Sure.
so Jeremy's going to recall, my name's Eric Harris. I'm also a chapter coordinator. Back in the fall, we were in another meeting and we jointly came up with a theory that among the ADHD and a lot of things you covered here, Sarah, there's three devils. And I wonder which of these devils tormented you. I know at least one of them did. You've mentioned it. The three devils were disorganization, procrastination, and then when you were talking about how theater class worked to you, time management seemed to be a real devil for you. So again, we tried to do a meeting about conquering those devils, and you were just discussing it a little bitsy parts and visuals for time management, calendars, timers, and whatnot. So I find your talk very interesting about everything you weathered through, but some of the little tips and things that got you through, and how many of those devils did you encounter? Time management for sure. And then I'm thinking about you sitting with the TV and the cat and the dog. Maybe the procrastination devil or the disorganization devil was in the background. I don't know, but we did this thing about three devils. Jeremy did it for us.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is there a question? Do you,
Well,
and me,
well,
I say my
time-
husband, my
you
husband would
mentioned
answer
you mentioned time management and
yeah.
a little bit about how you overcame it. So as
Oh,
you're, how you overcame
Wow,
and
what a
what
compliment.
techniques did you use?
I would say, first of all, language matters so much to me. So I'm going to make all those devils my friend because it's all me. First of all, it's all me. And the first thing I like to say is, those are all my friends. And so the first thing I like to say is, what am I going to do for myself that's going to make whatever it is that it's a task that I need to manage, make that task compelling enough for me to do it. And if I need to do it, where am I going to put it in my day? Probably for me, if that task, for me, what I do is I have two calendars. Like I usually don't give tips and tricks. If you're asking me specifically, I know because I have a working memory challenge that I need to write things down. I need to see them. I need to make it visible. I need to make my tasks visible. I don't necessarily, because I have appointments with clients, they are in a very specific time. And I put my other tasks down on the day. I don't like to feel like I'm bullied by blocks of time. So I'll put my whatever tasks are happening because there are enough timed, scheduled things that are already controlling me, I think. But I sort of like to kind of dance with my tasks and put them on the day that they're going to occur. And procrastination, I think, happens, that's a complicated topic because we procrastinate for lots of different reasons. Either when I'm talking to other people and all those people in my head, it would be, why are you procrastinating? It's either because you don't understand quite what needs to get done. You don't want to do it for one reason or another. And is it an emotional reason? What is that reason? And it's usually pretty important to untangle that reason. Or it's just incredibly boring. And you've got to just kind of break it up into some sort of a compassionate enough schedule that you can live with. And I think this is a self-awareness moment. I think you have to be really fair and compassionate with yourself about what's going on and have a really good conversation. And I think the whole devil thing is, that's a really great example of, what if it's not a devil? What if it's just you? Like, what if it's all you? And okay, what's happening and what am I not doing? And let's start there. Does that make sense?
I think he's made it. He's broken.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Okay. So I think it's never too late. This is kind of me. This is sort of something I discovered without knowing I had ADHD, but this is something I fit back into my life to give myself some balance. This is part of who I am. And that's it. That's it. Does this been helpful, useful?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
How do you make yourself practice?
Very good question. I don't make myself practice. I want to. Now, I think for me, that's a really good question. I think because of my age and because I'm at a period of time where it really matters to me to sing a little bit. And it fits into I'm trying to figure out kind of how it fits into my life. I'm more curious about it. And it's coming from a place of genuine curiosity. So I do it when I want to do it. That's a really good question. I think previously, I didn't really understand why I was doing it. You know, it's
So why you're connected to it? It feels like more of a connection now. Like,
yeah, it's connected to a very genuine desire to see something develop. I'm kind of working on, for me, but really, I do think that I've always benefited, and this goes back to the theater major. I've always benefited from having a very real deadline, a very real something to work for. It's very hard for me to work on something that I don't think is not going to end in something. I need a very real something I'm working for. And when I don't know why I'm doing it, it's difficult for me to do it. If that makes sense.
With a question on how has acknowledging your ADHD impacted your parenting or your relationships with your children?
I think it totally changed the way I have two kids. For my older child, it made me a much better listener. And I had to begin to listen because it saved my relationship with my older child. For my younger child who has autism, and he has also an intellectual disability. I was used to a lot of explicit talking to him in a way like he was younger and less capable. And I began to talk to him, my awareness of ADHD and my coaching, and my awareness of my own limitations and vulnerabilities. Those two things sort of came at the same time. Changed the way I talked to him. And made us sort of more equal, sort of made us more adults. He just moved to an apartment this weekend. So it's changed my life. I mean, everybody knew I had ADHD, who met me in my coaching. I'm the only person who didn't know I had ADHD, evidently, but it's been wonderful for me.
What do you advise parents to do who think that their child might have ADHD?
Get them evaluated, and really, I say again, the diagnosis for me, the label for me is not as important as the self-awareness around what is showing up. How is it? Starts focusing on the strengths. There are lots of wonderful resources about ADHD. If you don't, I would not stigmatize it. I would move past that and start talking about strengths and start getting the support you need in school. Start talking about what you need, who's on your team, have the conversations you need to have, get evaluated yourself if you need to, and make it, find out as much as you can. Start the conversation about self-awareness and support, what works, what doesn't, set up the environment. Because the more you know about yourself and what works for you, the more you can be who you want to be in every environment. And that's the name of the game.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for tonight. Next month, we're going to be completely online. Cynthia Hammer is going to be our presenter, and she is an internationally recognized speaker. She's the founder of the Inattentive ADHD Coalition, and she's like a frequent contributor to a bunch of famous, media outlets, and she testifies before Congress about the importance of inattentive ADHD and how it's unrecognized and why we need to focus on it even more than we already do. So that'll be online. You can register at the website, and we'll make sure you get a Zoom link. There are lots of fun little tools back there. Help yourself. Sign in if you want to.
Jeremy, can I have a question for you?
Can we take it offline, Eric?
Well, I'll stay on. Oh, yeah. Oh, how do you want to do that? Want me to message you or something?
Just let me check. Can I circle back with you in a second?
No trouble. Yeah, take care of your people there. It's been great.
Thanks, Eric. All right.
I do have a question. I just was diagnosed recently with ADHD. But I'm kind of going through a grieving process. I mean, my whole entire life could have been different. Now, it's a little late, but I'd like to change my career at this stage. I don't know what, but I don't have any self-trust.
Mhm.
I lived my whole life on defense instead.
Mhm.
No. I mean, how many times have I procrastinated something? How many times have I got excited for something and then let it go because I messed around with something else? I mean, have you experienced that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to let yourself feel all that. I do not believe in suppressing any of that. I think you have to allow yourself to go through that and then trust that there's another side of those feelings. Because the possibilities now, once you find out and start talking about what